You know, it's like, again, as Polonius says, to a field you love, his affections do not that way tend. And so I wanted to say something to all you guys listening about that, is that a lot of people are drawn into movie making and drawn into the theater because of one thing they want to do. It might be being a director of photography, it might be being an actor, it might be being an AD, and you might find there's something else that you want to make. You find that maybe you're not so good at that, but you're very good at something else. And that's where all of the writers used to come from, and still did in my day. They came from guys who got in as an actor. Okay, Shakespeare was an actor. And they said, wait a second, let me try this other thing. And we know this works when we put on The Office Party. Okay, so we put on The Office Party, and Sally says, we're going to have an office party here, and we're going to put on a skit about the mailroom. And one person says, oh, good, I got a great idea for costumes. And one person says, oh, can I write it? And the other guy says, oh, I'm gonna play Bertha, right? This is such a cliche of American life. Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney saying, we'll put it on in the garage. But that's all a theater is. It's a bunch of people say, we'll put it on in the garage. My uncle's got a top hat. Ooh, can I sing a song? You're not going to find that in school. You're not going to find it at any school, but you're going to find it in the garage. Got a job at Ford designing automobiles. Well, what's that person going to get a job doing? They'll say, oh, good, you're going to work on the taillight, right? So you're going to work on the taillight for 10 years, and then maybe you'll work on the back bumper and blah, blah, blah. It's very seldom that you're going to actually get a job designing a whole car. On the other hand, there were these things in Los Angeles, mainly in Los Angeles, they may still be called chop shops, which were not the chop shops of today where they took stolen cars, but where kids would get together and they'd create a new car out of nothing. Right? They'd create the hot rod buggies. They created, and the people from Detroit started coming to these chop shops and saying, wow, that's what we should be doing. So these kids were making the cars right there that Detroit was beating a path to their door and saying, we want to make that. We want to make that car. So it's the same in the theater, you know, rather than going to all of these schools and blah, 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 blah. Make your own car, put on your own play in the garage, and maybe the world will beat a path to your door. And if it doesn't, you had fun anyway. It's a schizophrenic profession, being a dramatist. Because you have to be several people and yourself and the audience, and you have to like doing it, even when you're miserable. I was shooting a movie for HBO, the Phil Spector story with Helen Mirren and Al Pacino, and we were out here in some place, Long Island, like 3-4 years ago. It was the world's worst hailstorm. And we were shooting outside, of course, and we had, 500 extras, of course. And we're shooting outside, starts to hail. So we're all under the underhang, the whole crew, right? And there's 80 people in just a little underhang, all hanging together. And everybody's run for cover. And the hail is literally eating cars. It's the worst hail. I mean, it's hail the size of frickin' golf balls. It's eating the cars. And the temperature drops down, and it's 20 degrees, and we're all shivering, and it's pissing down rain. And we all looked at each other and thought, ain't this great? Who would want to be anyplace else? You pity the people who weren't there. So that's, it's when it's good, it's great, and when it's terrible, it's not so bad. The best thing you can say to someone who wants to go into show business, you know what it is? Don't do it. You know why? Because if they listen, they don't belong in show business. I think most people drop out of show business, in my experience, because they can't stand the uncertainty. Because it's a life of self-direction. And you have to learn how to do it on your own. There's no one going to be your mentor in show business, though a lot of people claim to. But I think that show business is just like raising children in that you get everything wrong. There's nothing that you get right. You're strict when you should be lenient when you should be strict, and you're hanging over them when you should leave them alone, and you're absent when they need you. Nonetheless, they grow up. So that's what I think. But Everybody's got to figure it out for him or herself. There's what I guess the question is what I'd like people to take away from listening to me, and thank you for your patience with telling all these fairly disjointed stories. And I think the answer is I'm not any less confused than you are. I'm not any less uncertain about my work or my worth than you are. I just got in the habit of doing it, and you can too. The conscious mind has to do what it did before. That's what the conscious mind does. That the mind, as our good friend William James told us, is basically a lump of mud. And we have these electrical impulses which can be likened to a drop of water. And you put the first drop of water on the top of the lump of mud, it's going to run down some way or other. But the second drop's going to run down where the first drop ran down. And the rivulet is going to keep getting deeper and deeper. And these electric impulses form our consciousness. To what extent this is the mind and what extent it's the brain, I don't know, but it's an interesting way of thinking about it. So that's the conscious mind. How do you use the conscious mind to subvert the workings of the conscious mind? Well, psychoanalysis tried, it didn't work very well. There's meditation, that's good. Right? There's varieties of religious experience, as William James told us. And there's dedication. So if you dedicate yourself, no different than the ballerina or no different than the quarterback or the tight end, dedicate yourself to the discipline of your craft. Eventually you will be rewarded with something which is not from your conscious mind.